Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And we got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is Darth Bird? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here. And then with us, of course, we have Dixon getting yellow carded at the MWS, and our also guest Maeve, who's going to talk to us today about some Reser nonsense. How are y'all doing?
I'm good.
Dixon's enraged.
I'm all energized up after.
Yeah,
Dixon's enraged, but that's
fine.
That's par for the course.
My opponent, fantastic opponent, Crab and Chink. I was just like, it's other stuff. Don't worry about it.
Well, it makes me laugh though, because Dixon gives me crap sometimes when he's like, yeah, your base is overlapping another model's base. You need to move that. And I'm like, Dixon, I'm not that accurate. Leave it alone.
Yeah, Captain Con actually got me back to, like, ready to play the game again. I was pretty close to, like... I haven't had a lot of chances to play in person, and I just really don't like Vassal. Like,
you needed the in-person games.
So I needed that, like, injection of real games, and I had a lot of fun. And, of course, like, the Malifaux community is just the best gaming... It's just the best gaming community, so... Hanging out with everybody, getting to meet a whole bunch of new people. We had people like all the way, like this one dude came all the way from California. We had a couple people come from Toronto, like, and then of course the normal crowd was there. So it was pretty awesome. So I was glad to get back into it, and now I'm like, what am I gonna play next? Because I can't just stick with one thing.
Yeah, I think playing in person definitely is a big thing with like the whole tabletop community, because like I said, you can get your reps, in with Vassal and stuff, but when it comes down to it, I feel like Malifaux in general is a pretty social game. Getting those in-person events really kind of gets you really interested in playing other events and other lists and other crews and experimenting with
something about things. Vassal that I don't know what it is, but like the difference between like a 3D environment and a 2D environment, there are things that I miss all the time on Vassal that I would never miss on a regular board. But I'll like just completely skip over that a model exists or hasn't activated or whatever, and make like just large mistakes that end up costing me the game, and I get really frustrated. That doesn't happen to me on a regular game.
Well, and I also feel like, because when we were playing in the team tournament, I was playing against Nathan, and maybe you were playing against Trevor. And there were a lot of things Nathan was like forgetting with his crew. And I was just kind of like reminding him like, oh yeah, don't forget your free scheme marker. Don't forget this. Don't forget that. Clock it back to me. And, I feel like when you're in person, you get a little more of that, cordial kind of friendship, let's just play a clean game.
Right, and nobody, like, even the top-level players in Malifaux, at least in the U.S., I know a lot of the people in Europe and in the U.K., and they all seem to be pretty great, but, like, as well, but I've never played against them. But a lot of, like, the top U.S. players, like, even when they're clearly just kicking your ass, right? They're good people. Like they're not like, it's never like you feel like they're just like sweaty to get it done. Like even Landon, when Landon is destroying you 8-2, is still like, a personable guy to hang out with.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to talk about mostly Resers and Captain Con. We'll maybe talk about some other things as they pop up. But before we get into it, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that by going onto the YouTube channel. You can go onto our Discord, which is linked in the description. Lots of different conversations going on there. We also have Twitter, so you can check us out there. Been posting a lot of just pictures of models, news that comes in through Weird and the Steamforged stuff with Guild Ball. And finally, if you want to support us directly, you can do that at patreon.com/RageQuitWire. You can support us, and you get cool things like access to the chat while we're live recording. You can ask questions there and kind of interact as we kind of move on. And then, of course, you get the episodes early and just some other random giveaways and things that we do for the patrons. And then finally, we also have the affiliation link through Weird. So you can go to give us your money, please. Thank you, weird.com/RageQuitWire. And a very small percentage of that goes to the podcast to get usually goodies for giveaways, what we usually use it for. So we don't even, I might get a random Reser box off of it once in a while. I think I got the It's Alive box last time. I got some of that. So, but yeah, getting into it, we went, and we aren't going to talk about the team tournament so much unless there's something specific that we feel like we want to talk about. But with the booty and plunder, I thought it was interesting because I don't know if this just speaks to Resers in GG4 in general, but there was 8 different Reser players, and a lot of the Reser players finished pretty well. So I don't know, Maeve, do you think right now just GG4 is a pretty good spot for a lot of these Reser keywords?
I think it's, I think there's a lot of action creation in Resers. You've got a lot of like cheap but tough models, and that is what GG4 really wants, is cheap but tough models. So, I mean, Molly's great. Like, just not even picking specific keywords. I can think of like almost all of like the minions in Resers are durable enough to survive a couple turns in the game, which is what you need. You need those actions, I think, in GG4. So I really think that they're solid, in a very solid place right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of just like hard to wound. There's a lot of hard to kill. There's a lot of incorporeal. There's, armor sprinkled here and there. So I feel like a lot of that helps their cheaper minions survive a little bit longer than some of these other ones that you might see in other factions.
Well, and also weirdly, like, I mean, especially if you're coming from, when you were coming from 2nd edition, like, Resers was the slow faction. But in GG3, I think Resers is a very, or in M3, I think Resers is a very fast faction in a lot of places. You've got Crueligans, you've got Necropunks, you've got Manos, you've got Archie, all of those guys. You've got, 6 move dogs, 3 action flesh constructs. You've got a lot of fast models.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, I think when I compare it to other factions, I do feel like they just have a lot of solid options. It's not even like, I mean, I would point to Molly because obviously I'm enjoying her quite a bit. And I think she is pretty powerful in this Gaining Grounds. But
she's the honestly, number 1 master right now. You're
welcome.
In Resurrectionist, 69% win rate.
You know what I'm saying? You could also play. I feel like you could play Seamus and you'd be doing okay. Yeah. So.
Well, Seamus is fine.
Yeah, but I also feel like you could play Seamus. You could play McMorning. You could play Daw 2. I think would be decent in this Gaining Grounds. You could just play a lot of different. Reva is really solid. Yeah. So Seamus, I just feel like there's a lot of good options no matter which way you go.
Yeah, no, Seamus too is making some, some very, very small games, apparently 4 games. Molly, both versions of her have more games than Seamus 2. But yeah, no, Jackdaw 2, McMorning 2, Castore 1. Like, there's a couple here that are just like super fast, hard-hitting, aggressive masters. And then there's Molly, for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not for some reason. It's for multiple reasons. Her keyword is very strong. Crueligans are really good.
So
yeah,
wholeheartedly agree. She's great. I played enough against her to respect her. My point is that if we think about it, like before Cackle, we thought that she was a bad master. And then
I think
Cackle
people thought she was bad in Gaining Grounds.
Some other players started.
I think she has. I think this is the perfect sort of like storm for her to really like pick up. I don't think she was necessarily bad in those other GGs. I just don't think she was very strong. Or compared to a lot of the others. Like, that's one of the things about this game is like the Gaining Grounds, how you score points is really like can change drastically. And like, one of the biggest things about GG4 compared to GG3 is GG3 was get to one spot and sit there for most of the game. Like, you could very easily predict where in GG3 the fight was going to happen. In GG4, we've moved to a game where the fight isn't necessarily dictated by the strategy as much. Maybe in Raid the Vaults, but even Raid the Vaults has a high variance of where like that fight's actually going to be. And then you also took out Assassinate, and you took out what's the other kill strategy or kill scheme they removed? Vendetta. And suddenly, like, you can't just randomly get points by, murdering a model. And I think that Molly especially, like, thrives there because she doesn't have to worry about getting to a spot, and they're not going to spend points to murder Molly because it's never going to get you anything. Like, it's going to take too many resources you need to score to spend time trying to kill Molly, when what you're really trying to do is score points. Plus, there's a shit ton of markers going out across the board. There are more marker schemes in this pool than ever before, and we all know Molly 1 loves for you to drop markers for her to eat.
And not only that, right? You also have the Crueligans that remove all the schemes, and there's a ton of schemes that require scheme markers. And Crueligans can remove, just for doing what they do, they can remove 2 scheme markers just when they go. And you might even activate them twice. And I like bringing 2 Crueligans, so, you're getting 4, cracks at that. And then also, not just the Lost Knowledge, where you can just remove stuff, but also the Debt of Gratitude, or whatever trigger, where it's just on a crow, you just, hey, remove a scheme marker, and if you don't, you take 3 damage. That's not like an option. It's like you have to remove a scheme marker.
Yeah. So, like, before, in other GGs, if you faced against Molly, you could just take strategies that didn't care about scheme markers. And that's nearly impossible in this GG, because most of them are either put markers in specific places or put markers close to enemies. And the last thing you want to do is put markers close to Molly's crew.
So with Molly being pretty decent, Maeve, you decided to basically, I don't think you one-tricked McMorning, because I think you mixed in some Von Schill there, or Von Stuck, sorry.
In Booty and Plunder, in the team list, I brought Stuck, and I was pretty much planning on running Stuck the whole weekend because he is very easy to pilot. I haven't played a lot of games. I didn't have a lot of, like, startup. I just wanted to play something that I didn't have to spend a lot of brain power on, because I was unsure, like, of how I was going to do and how much, like... To be honest, I've had a very, very rough, like, past 6 months personally.
Yeah.
So I needed something that was less brain power. So I brought Stuck in the team tournament, and I realized the fundamental thing about playing Stuck is that he's freaking boring. He is so boring to play. And my brain absolutely needs something to do during the game. So in the last game of the team tournament, I played McMorning 2, which I've had a couple games with, but wasn't really, like, confident enough to really want to play it too much. And then I had a blast playing that crew in our last game. And I was like, cool, okay, I'm just going to play him the rest of the weekend. And I played him... I think I played him all 5 games of Booty and Plunder.
Booty and Plunder, that's the only one I saw you drop.
Yeah, and I loved him. I love him. I love McMorning too. He is fantastic. He's got the exact level of, like, weird plays and, like, goofy engine stuff that I wanted to do. So I had a blast, and it did not take me long to, like, pick him up, because once I started playing him and, like, really getting into it, I was like, oh, this is Ulix, but green. and once I figured that out, I was like, cool, this is awesome.
Yeah, so, I mean, was there a specific list that you kind of brought? Like, you bring, like, 4, 5, 6 general models, and then you kind of mix it up
there's a McMorning engine, and I apologize, I have still not gotten to listen to Shakti talk about McMorning in your...
there was a lot there.
Yeah. But for me, the engine is you bring a mindless zombie, you bring the curator, you bring a nurse with killer instinct, And then, of course, you have Sebastian to summon. Everything else is a little like you either bring 2 Kentaurai, or you bring Manos and a Kentaurai, or you bring, that last couple models are sort of flexible. But you really need the nurse. You don't need the nurse, but you want the nurse.
Oh, yeah.
You bring Sebastian, you bring the Corpse Curator, and you bring a Mindless Zombie. And turns out the rules working as they're I actually was cheating myself out of a scheme marker every time I blew up a mindless zombie, or not a scheme marker, a corpse marker. But yeah, so you should technically get 3 corpse markers when you kill a mindless zombie with
if you got enough poison on him.
With enough poison on him, and so that's pretty much the engine. And then I was just churning out flesh constructs and throwing them into my opponent's face. Like, poor Trevor found that out. What happened? He was so mad. He was so mad because on the last game that we played of that weekend, he put out a botanist, and he got the botanist. Like, he ran that guy way up, and on turn 1 I was like lining it up properly, and then I just like shot a flesh construct up into him. Happened to hit like severe twice on damage, and botanist was dead. And that was one of his plant models, and he was like, "Oh, this is great." And I was like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna send the Kentaurai over at the other botanist you have that you threw out there."
I don't feel bad though. Botanists can be a pain in the butt, so
yeah, screw botanists.
They deserve what they get.
I mean, I'm gonna be surprised when people start telling me stories about killing Trevor's botanist when he starts playing McCabe. That's just gonna be funny. It's like those are the hardest botanists to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he's got upgrades on him, yeah, for sure. But that was the goal, is just like, I knew that people needed to spend a lot of effort getting their models into position. So the goal was to grind out flesh constructs to force them to have to deal with the flesh construct instead of going and scoring points. So McMorning was just turning out a flesh construct every turn, and the rest of my crew, dogs, were going around to score schemes, and McMorning himself is like really, like, he's a 6 move, don't mind me, so he can get in and out to score points too. So pretty much I was always at like 8 to 10 activations all the time, and getting, because of Killer Instinct on the nurse, you get Soul Stones back.
Yep.
And
You've
got Sebastian kind of sitting in the backfield waiting to murder anything that comes by to try to score points in your backfield.
Is there any value to the guild autopsy, on top of the nurse with the Killer Instinct? Because both of them would have looted corpse. I'm just trying to figure out if it's actually any... Because I saw it once.
The nurse has... The nurse... So the reason I like the nurse better than the autopsy is the nurse can tools for the job, which is important.
I mean both. To have both. Is
both.
there any value?
I don't know that you have space, because to have both, you would have to get rid of a Kentaurai. You would have to get rid of one of your 2 flex spots, and usually those are Kentaurai or Manos for me, and those are what are scoring your scheme points.
So sell me on the Kentaurai, because I played it a couple times and I wasn't a huge fan of it, because I ended up, I don't know if I was too aggressive with it. Maybe I just got it killed, but I mean, maybe you can sell me on that. Maeve.
So here's the thing that I'm learning about models like Kentaurai. These are not models that you send out turn 1 unless you know your opponent's not going to go after them. You build them up turn 2, get them into for turn 1 into position, and then turn 2 they go out and score. Like, they go out and score points. I mean, they can get out of combat with Ride With Me.
And are you giving them like the extra legs to make them even faster?
Usually you give them extra legs. It's also really funny to give them, if you can give them the flurry, because then they're swinging pretty, hard. Especially if you tack on Sebastian's attack to them, and suddenly they're potentially like min 3. Swinging in pretty hard even on the non-charge attack, because obviously on the charge attack they can use their other attack, but I mean, like, the goal is just that your opponent's gonna be dealing with the flesh constructs, so the Kentaurai get to go spread out to the corners. Usually they also really help your unpack, because the problem with this unpack is it's very dirtily. So like
To,
a
like,
lot of
ride
times,
with me.
right. So a lot of times Sebastian will like on turn 1 will make a dog and focus, and then you ride with me him up, and suddenly he's at least out of the way because you want to put everything close together. So they're really good at like pulling things apart and going on the way. I barely kill any models in GG4.
Nice.
Like
I mean,
I
you
just
don't need to though, right?
yeah. Yeah, like if I can tie you up, I don't have to kill you, and you spend all of your time killing my models.
That's kind of the funny thing I think Spire's talking about, where Cackle and apparently Spire play it very differently. Where I think they'll bring like the Chimera or they'll bring Archie, and it's like, okay, let's staple that sick attack on the construct, and then throw the construct up and go kill something with like an alpha strike. And it sounds like you're playing it very differently, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna scheme and get my points where I need them.
Kylie was talking about how he brings the Carrion Emissary because flesh constructs being able to shoot the Carrion Emissary's gun 3 times are really, really good. And I agree with that. And that's one of the things I like about McMorning is that if you need to change tactics and play a different crew, you can. You can shuffle all that up and suddenly you've got a different crew. Suddenly you've got dogs with Kentori attacks charging in and hitting for min 3. That's hilarious, right? Funny as hell. So I like that there's this huge flexibility in like how you can build the list, because like the list I build is specifically for grinding out flesh constructs. I don't think you need to do that. When I was playing against Jeff Mansker, he was playing Yedza, and I knew that Yedza was going to just ruin my day. Like, Yedza is such a hard matchup for McMorning 2 because you can't kill her models. You can't, go in and kill her models. When you're healing up at the end of the turn, she just nukes your heal. Like, it's very, very difficult. So very early on, I realized I'm going to have to change tactics, and I'm just going to have to go wide. And so instead of building up that flesh construct base, I built one flesh construct early on, and then I just like went off to the 4 corners of the board. And honestly, it came down to like 1 or 2 damage flips that he had, that he managed to just have better cards than I did, that kept us from like tying the game. And it still ended up as a 1-point game. It was like an 8-7 game. 7-6, thank you. Yeah. So it's, I like that flexibility. I like any list that I can be like, oh shit, that's not working. I need to think of something else. If I'm not like playing a weird little mini puzzle game while I'm playing, I'm not enjoying Malifaux. Like, that's why I love Sommer. That's why I love McMorning. That's why I love Ulix. Like, all of those weird.
Do you ever find
like,
yourself getting guys? Because I've played McMorning probably about 4 or 5 times, and there's a lot of times where I almost sometimes take too much time trying to figure out the best play with him, because it's like, okay, I could put out poison here. Okay, I could pulse this out. I could put that down. I want my poison up, but I also want to get a scheme or scrap down. And I feel like sometimes I end up just being like, I'm doing a bunch of dirtle crap in the back that doesn't actually score me points.
Sometimes I think you have to be able to abandon that. Like,
yeah.
Turn 1, you can dirtle. I think the only scheme that it's tough to dirtle on, or only strategy it's tough to dirtle on, is ballots. You need to be in position to score on turn 2 in ballots. And you really need to be there kind of already at the beginning of the turn. I think by the end of turn 1, you need to be in position on turn 2 to score. With at least 2 models pulling out.
Do you like McMorning in ballots?
Yeah, he's fun. I think there's probably better options, but like in ballots, he's definitely better than Stuck, which was my other choice. But yeah, he's just so fast. Like, you can bring 2 Kentori in that list, and they're going to pull somebody along with them. McMorning himself is a move 6. And like, if you put legs on a Kentori, they're a move 8?
Yeah,
like,
pretty ridiculous.
They're going to get there, and there's very little your opponent's going to do to stop them. McMorning also being Don't Mind Me in ballots is really, really good, because he can like walk in and just start pulling.
I think ballots is one of those strategies that, I like a lot of the Molly stuff I do, but I think ballots is the one strategy where I'm kind of thinking about maybe taking Molly too, because, she can push her models and interact even though she's engaged.
Yeah. I mean, I love Molly too as well. I think she's really fun. But I agree, you could probably get very fast. Like you put like two of the crack bats out there and have them just fly to the corners. And
ballots is the strategy that I'm still trying to find my best drop in Rezzers. I still don't know what that is for me.
I like Mid-Morning too. You can, like I said, you can have very, very fast Kentori. Mid-Morning himself can be, well, he can't target himself with the upgrade, which is sad. Yeah. He should be able to give himself upgrades, but as a matter of fact,
he's got a whole bag full. He can just
I think it would be a Mid-Morning thing. Right, it would be a Mid-Morning thing to just like tack an arm onto himself and be like, yeah, it's fine. But no, we can't do
himself.
that.
Yeah, no.
Right, yeah, like I can easily see Mid-Morning being like, all right, Sebastian, hold still so I can like sew this onto myself, this extra head onto myself.
I mean, he already does plastic surgery on himself, so it's like, I get the logic, but no,
right.
I do not want him with extra arms.
But yeah, so I think that he's a fun one for that. I don't really know Rezzers yet well enough to pick like who else. I just kind of like spot picked him out of what do I want to play and what models do I have.
I've done pretty good with Yanlo 2 in ballots. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I can see that.
The problem I have with it though is once they snipe out either your totem or whoever else Yanlo's attached to, I mean, you're only moved 2, and it's like, okay, well, here I am.
Yeah. Ballots is a wild strategy. It is. I have yet to decide whether or not I like it.
It's different enough where it's entertaining.
Yeah. I think Raid the Vaults is really good. I
do want to ask you, Maeve, what was your best zombie chihuahua moment of the tournament?
What was my best zombie chihuahua moment?
I don't know if you had a wild play or maybe it should have died when it, and it didn't. I don't know.
I don't think the zombie chihuahua ever really did anything other than put poison on a mindless zombie. Like, he feels so useless in McMorning too.
Oh, you didn't want to heal anybody or anything?
I struggled so hard to find a good, because he just got left behind, and
everybody just took off.
yeah, and he's just hanging there in the background, like, I put poison on a zombie, cool, like, and then usually but usually that, because it's 4 cards, would eat like 2 to 4 severes in turn 1, and I was like, all right, well, that's the way this is going to go. It's like Brewmaster 2 all over again. Like, I'm just going to be flipping all my cards for heals onto, all severes onto heals that I don't need. Yeah. This is annoying. But
so
yeah,
what would you say then is, if it didn't do anything kind of spectacular, what would you say was kind of a pretty consistent MVP in your McMorning cruise that weekend? Sounds like the Kentori did a bunch of work for you.
Kentori did a work, but honestly, Flesh Constructs, watching Perdita try to deal with Flesh Constructs, it was like playing. I imagine that Nick was like playing a game of Zombicide, because like
that gets so bad sometimes.
There was a Flesh Construct in his face, so Perdita killed it. Then there's a Flesh Construct in his face, so Perdita killed it. Then there's a Flesh Construct in his face, so Perdita, like, in one game. Also, like, vomit. Projectile vomit is insane. In that same game, like, Flesh Construct moved up, puked onto a lawyer, and ended up hitting like 5 models, and then charged into Perdita.
That is so upset. Like, I hate that.
It's so gross.
When we were talking,
it is gross. Literally.
Yeah, when we were talking about basically this exact same thing, about why the Flesh Construct was so good, projectile vomit came up in that conversation as well. It's just, it can be game winning. It's so absurd how this stupid
what conditions
model
does it put out again?
Distracted and poison.
Yeah, distracted poison is just on the Flesh Construct, the necrotic machine, I think. No, then rogue necromancy has blank stare, which is the one that I'm just like, why? Why
Yeah.
are you here, and why are
Bunch
you
of so
automatically
gross.
suited?
Spire said you can also have the Chihuahua vomit.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
one thing. And once again, like not being as familiar going into it
just
as I
getting
needed to be,
reps.
I didn't use those upgrades on the Chihuahua as much. But also, once again, McMorning just like outpaced him. Usually, McMorning was
fair.
just on the he just flew across the board because he didn't care. But yeah, definitely the MVPs of the game, or of every game I played, were flesh constructs. They were just solid masses of
Tying stuff
obnoxious
down.
that people had to deal with. Yeah.
Well, because even if you don't
they're just
staple
fun.
an attack on them, their base attack just spikes really hard, right? Like it just all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
like, oops, I did 5 damage.
Yeah.
It's a 2-3. Yeah, it's a 2-3-5, and it can out of nowhere just like because it's got punk.
No,
think they have puncture?
No,
Yeah.
they do. That's why I said,
Yeah.
it's like, I think in that same
Yeah.
conversation I said there's a 1 in 3 chance if you activate with all 3 attacks that you'll do 10 damage with the flesh construct.
What did I almost
you have
kill
all
with the
3
flesh
attacks.
construct turn 1 Dixon? I almost killed
An
something.
armor 2 rocketeer and an August Heart with let line code and 4 distracted.
Distracted.
Like you almost killed both of those models because you did like 10 plus damage to them. I was like, how the world? And,
Dixon was
that
getting
happened,
triggered.
and I started. Yeah, I kept passively track of that after that. I played more games against other people, and that seems to be a statistic. 1 in 3 chance if you have 3 attacks with the flesh construct, you will do about 10 damage. It's so gross.
Spire says,
Yeah.
note to everyone, if you're playing against McMorning 2, never hire a rail worker.
Because then the
Their
McMorning
movement
is going
forward.
to push them into the marker, steal the marker, give it flurry, and suddenly the flesh construct is hitting you 4 times.
Oh, great. Well, also the
Yeah.
rail worker is speed 4, so you can concentrate and vomit on them, and it spreads
Yeah.
onto everybody. That's probably what Spire
Yeah.
is talking about, but he's not answering
That
yet.
too. I love, and honestly, like, there's your weakness for the crew that I found out too. Like, you got to be very careful because I played against Mayfang 1, and Mayfang 1 really loves defense 4. Really loves defense 4.
Yeah.
So it was not a great game for McMorning. She was absolutely murdering everything on the board. It was the only time I've ever seen May 1 just go combo wombo on.
Did
Shit.
Maeve, were you ever tempted to bring McMorning 1, or is that too boring? You like the puzzle better?
I had not played McMorning 1, so I didn't bring him. I should have probably into the May list. I should have probably brought him, but I just didn't have enough reps to. I also didn't bring any of the stuff that I feel like I had a Rafkin, but I hadn't put him down. I didn't have. I think gassers are pretty good for him
Yeah,
too,
I like
and I
little
didn't have any.
gassers.
I didn't have any gassers, so
Yeah, gassers and guild autopsy are like my pet models that I bring in McMorning 2, just because gassers just flying around, and if they die, it's like, okay, they drop a scheme marker because you throw like an extra head on them or something. And they just kind of hey, do you want to go deal with this little 4-stone flyer, or, you're just going to let them go? So,
Yeah.
By the way, Spire answered, and it was hilarious. So the reason why never hire a rail worker that he gave was you can copy pneumatic toss on the curator and then use dredge up to throw someone 14 inches up the table. That's hilarious.
And you see, there it is. I always forget that you can steal enemy actions as well, as long as it's not master.
Oh, okay. That's
That's-
hilarious. I didn't even
well,
think
and that's
of
kind
that.
of, and that's what I'm saying. Like McMorning, you just have to get so many reps to see all the lines of play because there is so many.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably I think we mentioned that he's like one of the hardest masters to play because of that, because you have to rep him so many times that you may actually get either tired or burn out of playing him before you get it down to a T.
Yeah, and I mean, Maeve, you went 2-2 and 1
it's-
with him, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. 2-2 and 1, and except for the May game, they were all really close. They were like, I think I lost by like 1 point in the one game, and then I lost by like 4 points, 3 points, 4 points in the May fan game.
Oh.
Did you play against Miscellaneous's Maeve?
Yeah, against Chris. Yeah.
It's Chris
He's a
Meisel.
strong player.
Is
What's
Chris
that?
what?
I thought his name was Chris Meisel for some reason. I was just asking if that was the name.
Maybe I don't
Yeah,
know.
his name's. I know his name's Chris, and I know his.
But he was playing
yeah,
May
I know-
1, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, he had a very good list. He built a list that was really tailored to the scheme pool and tailored to defeat my crew. He was fantastic. Like, he brought exactly what I would probably do. Because, like, obviously, if you see McMorning and you're playing May, you can't bring a lot of your big, beefy armor boys because, like,
Yeah.
McMorning
Those
one
big
loves to
hoorize.
see a rail golem. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
loves to see a rail golem. So he brought 3 survivors. He brought Sparks, which Sparks is really rough on McMorning 1 or McMorning 2. He brought Kang, who I think people sleep on hard, and 1 rail gammon. And the pork chop to drop markers out all over the place, and those survivors were just awful. Like with Kang around to just be like, here, have some fun, like all kinds of focus for you guys.
Yeah,
and then they
focus
can just
on
like,
those on the survivors. That can get pretty rough when you're getting shot at. What are
Yep.
they? 14 inches away? 12 inches away?
14 inches, 2, 3, 5, and they can drop scrap in front of you, so they can basically create teleport lanes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's 1, 3, 5, and it turns into 2, 4, 6 if you,
You get the
throw
trigger.
Drop
it.
the scrap.
Which is the reason why I love them, because like shockingly they do a lot of damage and they create.
They punch up really well.
Yeah, they create
Yeah.
more teleportation points for you, which a lot of
And
people
hard
don't
to kill
expect.
hard to kill is a really, really, really solid thing for a 5 model.
Unless you're playing against
model,
Lucius 2, your buddy Nathan there.
Oh
Jeez.
god, Nathan did so good with Lucy too.
He wrecked. He did. So he didn't. I take it back. He didn't wreck me, but he played so good. Like he just.
Yeah.
He knows right where to dig in on your list. It's really good.
He's so good with Lucy, and like it's so funny because building up to the tournament, he's like learning. He's doing this Lucy list. He's building this Lucy list, and he's like, "I think I'm just gonna play something else. I think I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna go with something janky." And I
you
was
yelled
like,
at him.
"Stop it!" Yeah, I was like, "Stop it! Stop!" And even like the night before, like after we played the team tournament, he's like, "Maybe I'll switch to something else." And I went, "You will not. You will absolutely not." And I really wanted him to play against Longton. I was really hoping he would get set up against Longton because I think, Longton was playing that Zoraida Angel Eyes list. And I think Lucy 2 beats that because
think
Lucy's
so.
going to get to Angel Eyes and punch her lights out. So it was absolutely just really well done. He played Lucy really well. He was honestly... he had a lot of really good opponents, but I think if he had had just a little bit better luck, he probably would have easily been up in the podiums.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty close. He was 3-1-1, and yeah, I mean, he finished 6th, so he's pretty close to getting up there.
Yeah. No,
And we're actually going to talk to Nathan on. We're actually recording with him on Monday about Lucius in
Nice.
Yeah, because I mean, next month I'm gonna be playing as Guild for the. Actually, I'm probably gonna switch to Guild because I was having a lot of fun when I was playing Guild against you, Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Guild's in a good spot right now, and they just got an incredible model.
I mean,
that I'm
we
going to
haven't seen
hate.
that yet, but like the bottom 2 factions right now are Guild and Bayou at 44% for Guild and 42% for Bayou. They're not doing
once
well
again,
in
that's because nobody's strong. No, I mean, like, obviously, I'm Reese is a strong player. We got a couple strong players in the UK, but like, there aren't enough top players that play Guild or Bayou to really push them up.
Yeah, I feel like in the
push
U.S.,
those numbers
Sam's
up.
probably one of the top ones for Bayou. Like, he always
Yeah.
reps them really well.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation actually on the Bayou Facebook page the other day, and I think what it really comes down to is like if you're looking at overall numbers, like if you're crunching all the numbers together,
right?
Bayou always attracts the
Fun-loving
players that want to have fun.
The beer and pretzels
And I'm not
players.
saying those are and I'm not saying those are bad players at all. I don't even think they're necessarily like, bad as in bad at the game players.
Right.
But there's a level of like, I want to do fun, stupid shit with Bayou.
There you go.
That gets thrown in, and that really brings your numbers to a weird spot. Not to mention all the people like me, like Pete, who play Bayou as kind of their main faction, also tend to bounce around a lot.
Yeah.
Coupled with the fact that Bayou doesn't really have anything explosive. Like Ma is really, really good. I think Ma is great.
Ma's literally the staple that makes that faction, like, in my opinion, great. Yeah.
Ma and Zip right now are basically
Zip's
holding that faction together with
right now.
Yeah. Oh, and the Clampets.
But you just I'm not as big on Clampets in GG4, but that's a different story. But I think, I think it's just a matter of like, you don't have enough top level players playing them. Like Landon and Longton just have like an aesthetic repulsion to Bayou. They will never play Bayou.
I mean, I was literally the same until I played them.
Yeah, and Guild is kind of the same way. Not that you have players that like, but Guild doesn't have any top players that are like, this is what I'm going to play. Like Landon played Dita.
Guild has the keywords though, right? Like I think Guild, if you had a top player playing Guild like steady, I think that would help because they do have.
They're in a much better spot. They've gotten a lot. They've gotten a lot of good stuff, and what we've seen out of this book so far, like the Nightcrawler Network or whatever it's called, is bonkers.
That model looks really good, and I'm trying to figure out if it's better in Guard than it is in Nelly. But it is a fantastic model.
It's bonkers. Stealth and extended reach is such a ball buster.
Arcing through the cameras. Yeah. That's the real thing. That's the thing that made me go, what?
Yeah, it's a ball buster. But I think they're in good shape. I think Guild is like, they have a couple like Lady J's still fine. I don't think but like Lucy 2 is really, really good, and this GG. Dashel, like McMorning 2, I think Dashel is also a really, really strong candidate. If I was playing Guild, I'd be playing Dashel.
The unfortunate reality is that there's not enough games for Lady Justice 2. But Dashel, you are correct. Both versions of Dashel, at least 18 games, 47% win rate though. So I know for a fact that there are good players that play Guild, but I don't know if they're playing Guild right now. Because Dimitri,
and that's the thing. I don't think there's enough people playing it at the moment.
Yeah. Because like I know that like certain players, like I don't even know, is Brandon Lynch not playing Guild anymore?
I don't know that Brandon Lynch is playing Malifaux right now. Really,
exactly.
So it's there's not a lot of top players that are playing them. Same thing with Bayou. There's just not a lot of top players that are gravitated towards them. Part of it is because there's been such a stigma about like these aren't good factions.
Yeah.
Which is changing. Like they're getting better and better. But Guild still has some of the same problems that it had. It's just getting better. Like Cavalier, I banned Cavalier pretty much every game that I played because like Louisa's stupid good, Rocketeers are stupid good. Like I don't want to see those guys, like. And I knew that like Rocketeers are the way they score, but like at the same time, Nathan's been running one Watcher in his Lucy list, and that Watcher is scoring him insane points. Like, and I've been saying for years, Watchers, the cats, Hunters, good.
Oh yeah, Hunters. It's a
3.7. Yeah. And the key to me is like, and the reason I like McMorning is the key to me is how am I going to score as many points as I can without ever having to flip cards.
Fair.
And that's what I look for in those crews. And I think that like models like Watchers, like Hunters, that are just on their own, can do things kind of on their own, don't really worry as much about flipping cards. They're just going to go score points. And And
Yeah, and I think that might be why I mean, you see it with like explorers as well. I feel like there's a lot of crews that can just go score points and just try to, slow you up while they're scoring. And you don't even really need to kill a lot of stuff and you can still do very well in this GG.
yeah, absolutely.
I did not do that
But I
when
think
I
you're-
played, though. I
there's-
played a very aggressive Molly list. It was called my Molly fighting list.
But I also think like that's one of the things I like about Dashel. Like I was saying, Dashel 1 can play a very morning-like list.
I
he
love
can go
Dashel
score
1.
points, go do his thing. Dashel, but then like if you need to, you can just switch over to Dashel
Reach
2
for
and
that
go
title.
full murder mode. Yeah, like you could Cloak and Dagger feels like a perfect time for, or Raid the Vaults feels like a perfect time for Dashel 2 to come out and just like move 18 inches up the board, turn 1, and murder something.
I'm really surprised more people haven't gotten on the Dashel train. I mean, it almost makes me want to play Dashel, honestly, because I'm just like, Dashel's really good. And I think somebody who put him on the table a bunch and got some reps, you can do some pretty gross things.
Yeah.
I like
The two are being played. It's just they're slightly below 50%, so it might just be an adjustment phase. We only have like 4 months into this GG.
Guild also
So-
just suffers from the human, aesthetics where it's like people just like cool models, and honestly, a lot of the guild models are just kind of boring.
That's Guild. Yeah, that's Guild. Guild is, there's another problem with Guild. And right now, for the first time in a very long time, Neverborn, which has some of the coolest freaking models in the game, is on top of the heap. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, getting some love.
Neverborn
Kicking
are
ass
so
and taking
strong
names.
right now. Zoraida's, but Nekima alone is just such a good. Like you could play Nekima and Dreamer, and I think you do just fine. They'd absolutely just wipe the floor.
Yep. Dreamer 1, 62% win rate. My girl Pandora 2, 61% win rate. Nekima, 56% win rate. So yeah, they're all doing great. The lowest win rate in the top 10 is 52% win rate. Nekima 2. And that's it. Everybody else is doing great.
If I play Nekima, I'm playing Nekima 2. Like I love Nekima 2. I think she's great. Dreamer 2 is like we were talking about stuff to ballots. Dreamer 2 is such a great stuff to ballots.
Yep.
Like
He's
you're
also
not
like
catching
a
him.
whirlpool because wherever Dreamer 2 is, people want to gather to try to stop his shenanigans. But because of how he plays, he
But
can
then he's
just like
gone.
exactly. He's just like, I'm on the other side of the table now. I'm like, but
And not only is he on the other side of the table, but everybody you ran over there is now slow. So there are
Yes.
less activations, and then he
I
bounces
mean, let's not bury the lead here with some of this new Ashes stuff coming out. Because you know very well, Maeve, that as soon as all that haberdasher crap comes out, that you're going to go right back to Big Hat.
I
I
don't know that I
too
like
sure about
Sommer.
that.
I don't know that I like Sommer in GG4 right now.
What?
I have
Oh
a lot
my
of struggle
God.
with him lately. I think Sommer. I mean, like I know people are big on the Sommer 1 list.
I think the
I
title's
think,
better in this GG.
I think Sommer.
I've
I think
seen
there's a
a-
list.
I've seen a good
That you-
split between the two. You're saying that in the Bayou focus places, people are saying the first one is better.
Because there's 2 lists that I've been looking at. Jim and I have been talking about this. I think there's a Sommer 1 just good stuff list that you play. You play Bog, you play Bryn, you play Fishbacher, you play Sommer 1, you play Lenny, and basically you just have a fairly
Like
elite
Jebediah
list
when
that
he
you're
comes
summoning
out.
a bunch of shit out. Right. Because Georgie and Olaf are bad now. Georgie and Olaf are so bad.
Yeah, I remember in the to say this part, is nobody else still playing the Lenny slide? Because like that was like the best version. It was the most fun, first off, and secondly, it did any mission very well. So I
You're
guess
talking about with
nobody.
the
one?
smuggler.
Yeah, the value smuggler just like delivering a fully charged Lenny.
Yeah, if Lenny didn't just fall over dead.
See that I
Like-
literally I said that. Like the only thing that I love about the Lenny slide is since I'm delivering him fully loaded, he gets to kill something before he dies. Because I agree, he does fall dead, and I did say that in my review. It's like, as long as his damage can overcome how freaking fragile this model is, then he's fine.
Yeah.
And so far, the Lenny slide allowed me to have fun with him.
But I think Sommer 2 does a really, really good job of denying a lot of strategy, a lot of scheme points, because he just eats markers, like all over the place. I do like Sommer 2. I do think, but like, I think the thing is with Bayou right now, you're probably just playing a good stuff list. Like you're running Bog, you're running Fishbacher, you're running
Yes.
Bryn.
Yes.
You're just literally just like good, just like out of keyword almost as much as possible.
Yep. Everything.
And I'm not really into it. Like
Really?
it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, I am loving... Because the thing is that list, you can swap which version of Summer you're playing, and it still works. That was the thing that I
sure.
loved the more about
For
the
sure.
Lenny Slide list is Bog and the Bayou Smuggler can deliver either Lenny or Summer, whichever version of Summer you want to play, wherever you want it to be. It's like I built my own Kurgan. And it was beautiful.
The problem I still see with Sommer, though, is like his stuff just still dies, right? It's just he hangs out in his bubble, he does his thing, and then it just still dies.
Well, so summoning Criers, I think, is probably one of your best bets. Like Criers, yeah. Criers, because they have, so they're going to be on negatives to swing at them. Criers can hand out slow pretty easily. They have that distraction aura, which is really, really good. So, and especially when you're backed up with like Bryn, who can, then do, also kind of throw his own mess into them. I think that, I think if you're playing Bryn, you're summoning Criers. Hopefully you're summoning a Crier and, that's the goal, is to always be able to summon.
I've been just consistently summoning a good old boy plus a Bayou Gremlin and just like chuck it at people, and sometimes kill my own Bayou Gremlin to draw cards, lower their tokens. I was like, it's just like a vicious cycle of I kill my own things for profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't done this in like 4 months, and I jump factions so much that I'm no longer like competitive that level, but I definitely loved playing it when I was playing it.
When I go back to being able, and I'm working on with my locals building up again, when I go back to playing in person again, I might come back with a better view of him. But after I played him, because I was going to play him at Captain Con, and I played probably like 10 games, and I was just like, I do not like this.
Ain't it.
It's very sacrificial.
You have too many memories of you just killing people's stuff when a gremlin just dies, and then your chain reaction just happens.
Yeah.
Man.
But also, like, I think Jebediah and the Haberdashers need to be out too. I think that's going to be a big thing, because poor Georgie and Olaf, when they lost Pig Eating Grin, stopped being like, when they lost the ability to make like 4 or 5 shots a turn, like an action, like they stopped being as good.
Yeah,
I really wish.
It's just kind of one of those interesting things, and I just think the other masters for Bayou that we talked about just are more consistent and can kind of hang out and score you the points that you're going to need. Kind of going back to Captain Con, though, I did find it interesting with one of the other. Actually, I think there was about 2 or 3 Reser players that also did this, but I know Kylie, who finished pretty well. I mean, played a lot of Karai, so I was surprised to see so many Karai games being played in this event. And I started looking at Kylie told me about like Karai 2 and some of the things that he was doing in that. And Karai 2 with like 3 Gwison in that list, and then you're just picking up schemes and like sucking them up with all these Gwison, and you have all your other ghosty boys and girls just ripping people apart and scoring points. I'm like, that seems good enough where I might need to try that.
Oh, Gwison definitely, Trail of Gore definitely became a much, much better bonus action for GG4. Like, there's so many markers just all over the place.
Well, and Karai 2 moves so many of her ghosts around, right? It's just so much movement to get you where you need to be.
Well, and, like, that's the crazy thing about a Gwisen is a Gwisen, like, they're only move 5, but they can, like, walk, grab a marker, walk. Right?
Spire's a Karai 1 apologist, apparently.
And then suddenly, like, you're getting a Gwisen in a place that, like, you weren't expecting it to be.
Yeah, right.
And that's frustrating for your opponent, especially because they don't want to hit the Gwisen and take that vengeance damage.
Well, because Swirling Spirits isn't like once per activation or anything. So, I mean, you can swirl as many spirits as you have cards, essentially.
Yeah. And I hadn't had enough... I definitely didn't have enough reps, and I didn't have enough painted to play Karai, or I think... Karai might be the next one on my Reser.
How cool was Kylie's models, though? Those things were like bright puke green spirit. Just
well done. Yeah. Very eye-catching.
I'm like, Kylie, how did you paint your models that bright?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good... good list, and I think Karai...
Well, something else.
There's not a bad Reser. Is there a bad Reser master right now?
I don't.
Is there anybody that you're just like, I just am not going to play that? Like,
no. Everybody is like 50% and above. The best one being Molly. Most played, 70%. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about the Karai 2, because Kylie told me two things that I was like, man, that's pretty effing good. The one was obviously Swirling Spirits is pretty good, but then also Ghostly Presence, where if you get a crow in the duel, you can also get another suit of your choice. And I was just like, man, that seems pretty good with her totem that just does irreducible, gonna kill you with getting another attack. And then also the Lost Love is just, in his heart, he's a Kruligan. So I have to love that.
That's true. And I think there's a place for Karai 1 because I think that this GG, because they just make it so much harder for you to do things. Summoning Drowned is really, really good. Like, being able to drop Drowned into people is kind of like the same as dropping Flesh Constructs into people. They're just going to tie everything up. They're going to go out there.
Kylie had 3 Drowned on the board, apparently, and then started summoning like Shishin and stuff. And at that point, it just feels like it spirals out of control with Karai.
Yeah. Yeah, Drowned are really good. I don't know if Jakuna is... I guess it depends on the pool, depends on the terrain. Jakuna can be really good, but like Drowned is... I think Karai 1 summoning Drowned is really good. I would probably summon them over Goryo.
Yeah.
I haven't found... In the few games I've played with Karai, I didn't feel like Goryo did me enough. Like, they just didn't feel like they covered their points.
They used to back in GG3. Because I saw a few good players play them, and they were scary. So maybe it's just a GG difference. Like, you no longer have to stand and fight. So they lost a lot of their strongest thing, which is stay and fight and just beat you with value attacks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't realize the Drowned had days. That seems pretty decent.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, that's right. Yeah. The bad thing about the Drowns is they just die to guns. Like not guns specifically, but anything ranged.
I mean, if you're summoning them, do you really care though?
Yeah, you're trying to run them into people's faces. That's what you're gonna do with them. You're trying to run them into people's faces, and
so that becomes a mini game.
Yeah, and projectile vomit people into Riptide markers and just hold them down. Like that's what they're there for. They're just there to be obnoxious and be in your face. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, waste your time on these guys, please, while I go do what I need to do.
Because like they were 6 points, so like it's not necessarily a high bar to actually try to get the cards for this guy. But yeah, no,
and they're cheap. Yeah,
they're cheap.
And despite the fact that it says projectile vomit is not a projectile, so correct. You can do it in melee.
Another stat 5 projectile vomit, by the way.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, at the very least, this one doesn't have
stat
any
5
slow
versus
shenanigans. Move. Well, yeah, but that's not my point. My point is that's way too good for this type of model. Okay.
Yeah,
for a 6 stone model that you can just summon on a stick. And
Yeah,
apparently
exactly.
the
I mean, it's the
upgrade
same thing
gives
with
you
a flesh
built-in crows.
construct.
That's good too.
Yeah, flesh construct does the same thing. This model does the same thing. This is ridiculous.
Good summons, man. That's what you want. I'm just happy summoners actually can do something in this gaining grounds again. That's just good for the game,
Yes.
for summoners to
Yeah.
actually
This is the
be good.
best.
This is actually the
And
best.
I like that summoners are good without summoners being...
Over
Like, summoners are good at kind of a specific thing. And I think that's really good. I think this is the best spot we've seen summoners because they don't feel like they're overpowered, and they're not like turning the game super far against your favor,
It
but
is
they're
funny
doing what they need to do.
because you can tell that newer players don't exactly know what to do against summoners this early on in the GG. Like Trevor, like we hadn't seen like a summoner in our meta until like recently. So Trevor played against Doug, who was playing Dreamer 1. And Doug's just throwing like Insidious in his face, and Trevor is like, "I guess I'm going to shoot this," and just wasting AP into it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll take him a little bit because it's one of the biggest hurdles. Like I don't know if you guys remember, but like in the beginning, in the forums, everybody in the mothers was just like whining nonstop about summoners, and then the summoners got nerfed really, really bad, and then we didn't see them for like 2 years.
Well, part of it is also because GG3 just hated summoners.
right.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It was part of the nerfs to the summoners.
Yeah.
They got a little bit better on GG4, and that's the reason why we see them again.
Yeah,
it's good.
And like I said, I feel like they're in the best spot they could possibly be. Dixon, what's the stats on Asami?
Sami, she was great.
Imagine
Let me
pretty
double check real
decent.
quick.
Because I feel like Asami
really
is
good right
really
now.
strong right now.
Yeah, 41 games, 59% win rate. Like she's just balling.
Yeah, I feel like Asami. I mean, like this is also seems like it'd be a really good GG for Terra.
Go,
Like,
Russian list, go!
The only thing that I don't get is like out of all these guys, the one that's doing the worst in 10 Thunders in the top 10 is Lucius McCabe with 43% win rate and only 7 games played.
You mean
Either
Lucas McCabe?
there's a lot of hate. Yeah, McCabe too is not doing well in 10 Thunders right now.
Well, I don't
not getting
think-
played
Does
that
he
much.
just not have the support? Like, I don't understand that because I feel like
neither do I.
McCabe is really strong.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't get it. That's why
I
that's
mean, I
the
think-
one.
I think-
set of
Well, they don't
botanists
have.
are
So they
fun.
don't have botanists. They don't have botanists, which are really, really good.
I like
scheme
bringing
runners.
George
Right.
when I played McCabe.
But he, yeah.
Yeah, but in any
Well,
case,
sure.
like,
If you want to do a more aggressive strategy, I think Jorgum are fine. But like,
yeah,
he's got hucksters. Like hucksters and Desper alone should
Yep.
be strong in
Now-
this GG.
the reason why I don't particularly want to trust on these numbers for the 10 Thunders is because some of the best master, quote unquote, like Yoko 2 are not here. Like if you look through
Well,
it, Yoko 2 is
yeah.
only being played by Landon basically.
Landon.
Well, I say there's a
Well,
lot of
and
people
that's
that
the
try
thing.
Yoko too and don't run it as well, and that skews the numbers, I think.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, because like that, even though that we're talking about a whole bunch of masters and models and stuff, the number one factor in what wins is the player, and that's one of the things
Yep.
that I appreciate a lot in Malifaux. Better player wins.
Well, and Yoko is, especially the Yoko list that like Landon plays, is a list that is built really heavily on like understanding the mechanics of Malifaux. Like, you know, it very much abuses pass token generation and activation control and like.
Oh my god,
you
that's
know, I think-
right.
What?
He has access to Jin Baccarat in Explorers.
Yeah.
Yes, he has access to Jin. Jin is huge in McCabe.
It literally won the game for my opponent. He got a random red Joker that killed a model and basically scored him 3 VPs. So like, it was great. He played well, obviously, and he definitely outplayed me in the center line. But like, Jin just basically made it
As
impossible.
as soon
for me
as
to get the last
Jin hits
activation.
the table, I always kill Jin. It's like I'm always killing Jin as soon as he's actually on the table.
Yeah,
But
no,
by then he's also done his job.
exactly right.
Like, That's the thing. Is like, sure, you kill Jin when he hits the table, but his job is done. Like
Then
he's already
exactly. That's exactly what happened.
That was the
And
thing
he's-
with Molly. I actually didn't care about the extra pass token because I was like, all right, well, I have 2 Kruligans, so I still got an activation on you. So I was like,
I think the other thing, we were talking about like me playing McMorning, and doing fairly well. I still hit middle of the table, which is like fine.
good for not having all the reps.
But not having all the reps, and honestly, like I played. So my first game was against Nick, right? And Nick played Lady J2, and like Lady J2 has
That's a rough matchup.
everything she needs, and we tied. Right? Like it was a tough game, and we tied.
That's a win for you.
Then I
That's a tough
played.
matchup.
I played against Stuck 1, and like at a certain point, I realized that there was no way. Like he took information overload and protect territory, and there's just no way you're going to stop Stuck from getting that. It's impossible. Like it was just, at a certain point, I realized like all I needed to do was like stop him from scoring strategy because he was going to score all of his points. So the differential in that game was really tight.
8-6.
Because like because like I couldn't stop him from scoring the schemes. I could only kill his models and stop him. Then I played May, and like I said, Chris built a really good list against me, very strong. So that was a thing. I played Yedza, and Yedza.
I want to clarify. You won the Stuck game 8-6.
I won the Stuck game 8-6. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a tough, but like I said, and the only reason I won it is because I stopped him from scoring strategy.
Yes.
It was raid the vaults, and I basically just killed models until he had didn't have enough models to do
lost to Mayfang 1, who I consider a good master, but Pete and others have told me that I'm wrong.
it. Oh, she's fantastic. I really
I
like
think
her.
she's fine. I think the other version's really good.
Yeah. And then I played.
I've lost to May 1 before, so.
Yeah.
Then I played
me.
Yedza 1 against Yedza 1, and like honestly, Yedza is basically a reser. And the one thing I've noticed about Stuck about McMorning that he struggles against is he struggles against the tech that makes him good. Like he struggles against that reser, hard to wound, hard to kill tech. And like the last game I played against Trevor with Anya 2, which could have been a struggle game, except that I was able to kill his Plant Explosives guys pretty quickly. So there were 4 out of the 5 games that were just hard freaking games, right, for McMorning, and I still did pretty well. So I was impressed. I think if I were to do that tournament over again, I would have a different. I think I would definitely be a little higher. He's strong. He's just so good. He's
So do you
so
think you're
versatile.
Do you think you're staying on the McMorning train, or are you looking to move on?
I'll probably play him for a little while. I really liked how he played, and I want to get some more reps to like see all of the things that I'm missing. Listen to the episode you guys did with Cackle, because Shakti always has great insights, and probably hit
So
him up
many
too to bug
ideas.
him. Yeah, he's a great player. So I'll probably hit him up on Discord too and be like, so I did this, what did you do? But I'll also probably I'm thinking about trying out Kirai a little bit as well. So
If I'm there too.
I'll probably slide Kirai into
I
put
was
Kirai
really
into that
close.
place where I had Stuck.
Yeah, I was really close to going to I want to try Sandeep and Colette. I'm like, I'll wait a little bit longer on that. There's still a lot I need to kind of get into with Rezzers, I think. So I think I'm probably sticking with Rezzers for a little bit longer.
I would not be shocked if you actually have fun playing that Karai thing too, Pete, because
I love it.
Yeah,
I love the
like
models. I just need to figure it out.
I'm gonna be very upset once you figure out the right swing and flow, because I don't want to get drowned. Like the drown plus the girl plus there's a whole bunch of stuff that's gonna make me have to play models with depths of Malifaux, so I don't get killed by a hazardous terrain.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, and I'm not playing, and I've decided too that I'm not buying any new keywords until I've played more of the stuff that I have. I'm just on a keyword I'm gonna try Karai. I need to pick up a couple more models. I don't have Gaki. I don't have. I've only got one Shikome somehow and one Goryo somehow. So I need to pick up like a couple more models. But
yeah, like I did buy the other side box because I needed all the Gwison, and I needed the enslaved spirits, and also
they're so good.
Well, also I love that alternate Akirio model. The Vega looking one. So I was like, I gotta get that.
It's good. It's good.
As opposed to like the hunched over, like creepy lady look.
It
kind of looks like she got caught in a spotlight. It's like, ooh.
It's one of the best enforcers in the game, and it's also one of the best totems, which is kind of sad and weird to say because I haven't seen her as much as I think that she should be.
Yeah, I think there was Nerf Whiplash. For Karai 1, there was Summoner Whip. Like that Summoners are bad.
Yeah.
Karai 2, I think there was Nerf Whiplash.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see.
It's kind of funny how stuff gets nerfed and then people kind of rediscover it and be like, oh, it got nerfed, but it's still kind of good.
Levy's doing that right now, right? Like people are rediscovering Levy and being like, oh, Levy is actually not bad.
Colette, Leviticus, freaking. There's some.
Colette 1's problem though is that Colette 2 is really good.
Well, that and GG3 was just bad for Colette. Just really bad.
Besides
for
Carve.
I don't know. Yeah. Black was doing really good with her. I'm just kidding. Obviously,
and Cadmus, and Spire says Cadmus.
Yeah.
I think,
but I'm kidding about the whole thing because, like, again, players make the difference. So, like, the same thing with Yoko 2. Yoko 2 might not be that great, or people haven't figured her out, but we know that good players are playing her and kicking ass with her.
Yeah, no, and definitely
like,
Cadmus.
Say Cadmus. You say Cadmus's name.
Yeah.
Say the words.
No, I think both versions of Cadmus are really good in GG4.
Maeve, I remember you playing those stupid kids, and I was just like, I'm so happy I never bumped into it like in a tournament with them.
Oh god, they were so good.
There's not enough games for them, which is shocking to me. There's more games.
I saw somebody play them in Booty and Plunder. I did see somebody play them. It might have been Jeff.
Yeah, for the kids in ballots, I think are really, really good.
Well, there's so much AP right with them. Yeah. It's just
you can just shove a kid into Calypso and run it up the board and like. Yeah,
because the problem is you have all the AP with all three of those stupid kids. You have the totems, which you can do things with them, and then you have botanists, which are just good, and then you throw in whatever else crap you want. It's just so much AP, which this GG is, you need.
It's just 9 AP. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's 9 AP.
You're just crushing people under the weight of the AP. And Cadmus 1 is really solid and thick in this GG as well. I'll be very interested to see. I think the thing you run into those two is once again they're not easy to play. Like you really need to figure out. Like you need to be. It's really easy to get all of that AP killed very quickly.
They're only 6 health.
Yeah,
they're stat 5, 6 health, no defensive tech other than if you attack them and miss, you may get a parasite token.
Yeah. So, I think they're good though. I very much like those lists that are like, I'm going to get stuff done. You go do whatever you're going to do. If you want to kill my models, that's fine. But I'm just going to go do what I want to do and score my points.
So I think that Booty and Plunder was interesting because I think this is the last big tournament before we start seeing all the ashes of Malifaux stuff, which I think that itself is going to the game's going to filter out a little bit depending on how some of these models impact the game. But sticking on the Rezer train, I did want to get Maeve's opinion on Ezekiel because he seems pretty good for McMorning. So I don't know if you're pretty excited for the old Zeke.
Why are you hurting me like this, Pete? Why are you hurting me like this? Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way. We're going to get the salt levels high very quickly. If Kyle is listening to this podcast, he knows what he did because I have talked to him for years about wanting a dual faction Rezer Bayou Voodoo Master, and what do? They make him just green. And they give him great models that are great gremlin models. And what are they? Green. They're all green. There's no brown. It's all green. And I'm bringing myself down. I'm calming myself down. Ezekiel's a fantastic model.
Biggest
so
F
good.
you I've saw to the
It's
Bayou
so
community.
rude.
It's like they
It
just
is
did this
so
to slight
rude.
Maeve. It's very
It is.
targeted.
No, I
It is.
think they did it specifically to insult all Bayou players. It's like, how dare
It's-
you? How dare you
it's-
like green?
Somebody does hate
It's-
Bayou. I don't know who it is, but somebody
Oof.
weird hates Bayou.
It's
I feel
so
like.
rude. But Ezekiel is such a good model. Holy cow.
Yeah.
For 6
Morning,
points, he is
gonna
just...
love him.
Why?
Yeah, I don't
All
know
he
where you
does
fit him
is
in yet.
bring mindless zombies. He brings 2 mindless zombies a turn.
It's kind of what McMorning wants.
What could
Yeah.
possibly make Morning want with 2 mindless zombies a turn that can blow up and create more
Crazy.
crap?
Yeah, like I mean, I
I'm
guess
so
maybe you
upset about
you put Killer Instinct on him and replace him with the nurse. I don't know.
I mean, I
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but he's a healer, which is always good. He can remove some
Yeah.
scheme markers, which is good. He does the mindless zombie stuff, so you don't have to hire a mindless zombie anymore. You bring Ezekiel, and he does that and more. So and he looks like a fun model. I mean, just the art for this is pretty ridiculous.
I think it's dumb.
Yeah, he's
think
really solid.
People should be upset and boycott this model until he gets like a keyword.
And he's so close to being Swamp Fiend because he has penetrating stench. It's like, man, you need that Swamp Fiend keyword on there somewhere.
Oh my god.
I mean,
Zoraida does not need extra models being summoned in. Zoraida does not need that.
They could-
New.
They could
No.
take the Wanga keyword that I created.
Yeah, there
they
you go.
could Yeah, take the Wanga keyword, slap it on that model, because literally it fits perfectly.
But I think he's really really good for the keyword overall. I thought it was really funny in the article. They were like, you could pair him with Asura, and I was like, you mean you can replace it? Oh wait, nobody plays Asura anyway.
What's
Yeah.
Asura?
He literally means Asura will never
is-
leave the box.
I
Who
did
is
not
this
know
guy?
what that model was.
Who is
because-
this guy named Asura, and what
So-
does it do?
I bought that box
Right.
because I need zombies, right? Because you play keywords in Rezzers that need zombies. I was like, what the heck is this model? And I was like, oh, there's like this random like girl or whatever on here. And I was like, does she go on like one of these 30? I'm like, wait, she goes on a 50. I was like, what does this model even do? And not a lot, it turns out.
Not a lot.
No,
No.
not
Yeah.
a lot.
Asura needs some fixes for sure.
Yes.
Um,
I mean, first off,
but-
just give her some suits. That's it. That's like the big
built-in
thing.
suits. Give her tools for the job. Give her something. Jesus, like
Yeah, like reanimate
she
in
she
zombie
is so
apocalypse.
resource intensive.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I think
It
that's the
really-
thing. And she's a little clunky with like your zombies can interact if they have line of sight. But it's like, okay, well, I mean, if, there's a lot of terrain that gets broken up pretty easily. So it can be a little clunky.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I
That
was-
literally, if you actually make her so that her actions do stuff without having to use soul stones or cards, I think that would be perfect. That's the bigger issue, in my opinion. Just make her easy to play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Are there any other Ashes of Malifaux models that you guys are kind of like interested that are about to come out?
Swashbucklers.
I haven't seen.
We got to see
Swashbucklers,
the pictures of them in Nova.
but not the
and-
rules. Dang.
Yeah, they had the rules at Nova. So they have Zip's Cutlass. That is where it gives them gives the enemy negatives if they have distracted when they attack. They have Biting Insult that actually has a trigger that's worth doing. They're like a 6 Soulstone model that has what I can't remember the ability. You can't cheat when attack combat expertise or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Where you can't cheat against them in melee.
Combat finesse.
They're really strong. They actually turn on his Zip 2's monologue ability, which I really like. So I think Zip 2 is really, really fun. And him having models that like really work with him is great. So I am all about the Swashbucklers. I think they're going to be a lot of fun.
What is that other Rezzer model that I don't know what it does, but it looks super cool. It's like the golem looking Rezzer model that's coming out. what is it called?
Oh yeah, I think that's the one that's called
Like Hobgoblin or something. I don't know.
yeah, Old Hob or something
Old
like that.
Hob.
Yeah.
There it is. Thanks, Spire. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that model looks cool. I don't even care what it does, but I'm excited.
Looks like a
about it.
Crix. Looks like a Crix model.
Yeah, it looks like a Crix Jack.
Yeah.
And it's versatile. There's
a lot of cool.
A lot of versatile stuff coming out for Rezzers here soon.
Yeah, and that December model is bonkers.
Which
that
one's that?
stupid goat lady or deer lady is going to be insanely hard to take down.
I don't think I've seen that
model.
one.
You haven't seen it? She
don't think
turns.
so.
It's kind of like Vogel. She starts as the Sightless Snow and Kernanos. She starts as a woman, and she gets a free Chimera upgrade, and then she turns into the deer.
Oh yeah. I remember this model. Yeah.
To be
She's
fair,
gonna
when
be
I see
nearly
December
impossible.
stuff, I usually zone out anyways because I don't play December at all.
Right. Well, okay, so the deer has Demise Eternal, right? It's defense 5. It's got Aspect of the Beast, so it can like grab any defensive tech it wants because it can have Butterfly Jump, it can have Disguised, it can have whatever you want because of that upgrade.
Armor
or Stealth,
1.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got Onward, like it's got Tear Off a Bite.
It has great triggers. All of them
Yeah.
are great. Well, I guess
And it can-
Dismember is the least good, but it's still like a heal.
Right, and it's an enforcer, so you can just give it Soulstone cash, and then suddenly it's nearly impossible to kill.
Yes.
Like
and
that
it has
thing
the
is going to
same
be
rule-
absolutely bonkers.
It has the same rule as Miranda, so that whenever she transforms, she doesn't lose her upgrades.
Yeah.
Spire's been in the chat
Yeah.
talking about
And
this
like-
Ghost Eater model and how busted that's going to be.
Ghost Eater?
I
think it's fine. I think the biggest issue that I see with Ghost Eater, well, not issue, the biggest bonus is that it's an enforcer model that has a tune. So you don't have to worry about a couple of schemes that say that the model has to be an enforcer, a henchman or a master. Yeah, so the biggest one. Other than that, it's not bad actually. It has Spirit Barrage with a stat of 6.
Spirit Barrage
which
good,
is a
though.
great attack. What was that?
Yeah, I'm
I said
not
Spirit
sure
Barrage
about
is
it
good.
yet. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not convinced that it's going to be like game changing, but I think it's a good model.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm kind of one of those people that I don't tend to
I think
dive
I need
into
to.
it.
I think it's going to be a model that we see when it hits the table is going to surprise us. There's been several models where I've been like, I don't know how that's going to get, and then it hits the table and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I hate this thing.
Or Dixon saying that the dogs getting their upgrade for Nephilim. He's like, I don't see these models. They don't look good anymore. I don't
Those
know.
dogs are nuts.
Yeah,
Those dogs are so gross.
I already
Dixon can admit he was
multiple
wrong about
times.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, there are
Well,
two
see,
models
Dixon
that
and I
are
had this
wrong.
argument in playtest too. Like this was a constant back and forth with us in playtest, and I was like, no, these dogs are insane. And then I literally haven't lost a Nekama game I've played since that. Like
They got changed. And
they did. They got changed from where we last.
From when I
Yeah.
started yelling, and then
Yeah.
I saw them again in the whatchamacallit, in the final product, and I was like, I still think that they're gonna die, but like at least they do something now. And then I put them on the table, and I'm like, nah, never mind. These guys are freaking good. They died to a stiff breeze,
Right.
but
Right. It's also hard to kill them when you have like 20 soul stones of matures and young Nephilim in the opponent's face.
Ripping your
and
face
Nekama.
off.
Right. Like that's the thing about them. They just hang back. You bring 2. They hang back. Make another 2 more dogs. Usually, I like running them into. I like having them bite the Noxious so that you can filter your hand.
oh, that's great.
And then the next turn, they just go do whatever they want to do. Like
Just go
they
score
don't care.
points.
Just go and do crimes.
And they're so fast that they're gonna get where they need to get and score points.
Yep. I like the idea
So-
that T, I think it was T like that said it. No, Spire said that the new ghosts solve a lot of Yanlo 2 problems, and I think I see why. That's actually not bad. You get to draw cards, and you get to have another minion easily accessible to like teleport into.
But don't you have to discard a card to draw the card? Don't you have to discard a card to summon them?
Well, to summon them, yes. I'm talking about whenever you swap an upgrade, Yanlo gets to draw a card once per activation. So you get to draw
Right.
cards basically once per ghost activation.
Okay. Yeah, because that was my thing. Is it felt like discarding a card to summon them, and like both keywords are not well known for drawing cards. So like having a discard trigger on that is kind of like, oh well, cool.
I think Spire said it's discard or take 2 damage on the trigger. So, Dixon,
Sorry?
are you planning on sticking it out with what you've been running, or are you looking at something else now that all these new models are coming out?
I'm gonna do Neverborn only for this tournament. I'm trying to see like where I am competitively as a player on Vassal, because I did okay at the Lone Star Foedown. I'm actually happy that I didn't do poorly. Let me put it that way. But I just don't feel as competitive. I don't know if that makes sense. Whenever
Sure.
yeah, so like I'm playing now in Vassal. I'm gonna see what happens. So far, I had a bad experience after the first game, so I don't know if I'm gonna stick with playing Vassal in MWS. But against you, I definitely want to start playing more Guild, because for the next tournament I want to do Guild, and probably after that I'm gonna keep playing Guild because I had a lot of fun.
I think you're good with Guild as well.
Thank you.
And you still get your Lucius too, and you can draw all those cards, and then you can also play some of the, Lady J and some of the Nelly, and throw some Dashel in there.
I mean, I did find I was bad as Nelly, but I did fine with Lucius.
I mean, is anybody good with Nelly?
And with Lady J. What's up?
So is anybody actually good with Nelly? I feel like even if you're doing good with her, you're still a problem.
No, I'm bad with her. In my opinion, I'm bad.
I think Toll 2 is really fun.
I have fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
have
love
fun
Toll
with
2.
both Tolls. Yeah, definitely both Tolls were. I don't know. They were easy to play for me.
Yeah, I was doing some fun
Jim
stuff
has
with
been
Toll
playing.
too.
Yeah, Jim has been playing a Toll list against me lately that runs a couple sappers, and I find them obnoxious.
They are very
Like,
obnoxious.
Yeah, Dixon,
God, they're
tell a
annoying.
story about the sappers into your Pandora crew. That was a pretty fun time.
Oh yeah. I played it, but it was Pandora 1, and sappers were like completely immune to like everything that I did with Pandora 1. Yeah, so they spent the entire game just being annoying and scoring points, and there was nothing I could do because they're really bad at killing themselves, and there's nothing I can do from any of my auras. it was
I
super
hate that.
dumb.
Yeah, they're hard to chase down. They're like, especially with Tull 2,
Right.
they can move pretty fast. Yeah, they're annoying.
Yeah, I think we still have.
Yeah,
I think we still have a lot that's going to shake out in this GG. I think there's a lot of titles, a lot of these new models that are just really people haven't gotten into yet, but are starting to kind of explore a little bit. So I'm really excited to see where this kind of gaining ground starts to kind of, sift through.
well, we're heading into con season too, right?
Yeah.
We got, we won't have, unfortunately, we won't have a tournament. We didn't have a tournament at LVO this year, but we got Adapticon coming up. We've got a couple big, there's that tournament in June up in Boston that's going to be interesting. So it'll be cool to see where things head out. I'm hoping that this new book will be a lot less heavy impact than the last couple books were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
like the dark times of Damien that are still kicking around, kind of.
Yeah. The last couple books have been rough. It'll be rough.
Yeah, and I feel like we just got those
Nova.
last 2 books under control, and hopefully this new book doesn't cause as many problems.
Yeah. The goal is to be at Nova this year. We'll just see. Nova gets expensive.
Yeah.
I know I'll be. I know there's a tournament in Richmond in May that I'm gonna make. I need to actually sign up for it because it's only got 20 spots right now. I mean, they'll expand it, I'm sure, but yeah, I'll probably. It's not that far for me, so.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. A lot of good chat and a lot of good BSing. Really happy to see what you're going to unlock more with Rezzers. And I know I'll definitely be letting you know, Maeve, what I'm also unlocking on my end. And Dixon will be complaining about it all the way, I'm sure. Sign us off, Dixon.
Thank you guys for listening. As always, flip cards, flip tables, and we'll see you all later.
Bye.